Okay, I'm back.
There we go. There's everybody.
Hello. I'm back. Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Okay. I said we run into the, yeah, I can hear you. I said we run into the case study and keep recording until it times out on this.
Okay. All right.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Shelly.
We can hear you. Hey, Shelly.
Hey. Y'all, I apologize. For some reason, I missed the message that we were meeting tonight, so I apologize. And then the code that I was trying to get in, I had the wrong code, so Lynette gave me the correct code. So I appreciate it, Lynette. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. All right. Okay, I'm going with number one since y'all can hear me. We ready? Going fast.
Yes.
All right, Donna could have said that being observed the old way was not an option. She should have stepped up and been a leader. She could have given the same speech to the teachers that she gave to the 5 leaders to get more teacher buy-in. Number 2. All right. The final plans will help teachers be reflective about their process. Cognitive thought will be more effective for the instructional process because it will cause teachers to look at not just themselves, but also their colleagues. Number 3, the principal could use test scores and take stakeholder surveys. That's it.
Okay. I think maybe we all share number 1.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, we can do that too.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. I just, I'll just say for number 1. I put for number 1, as far as giving the teachers options, I think being observed or not being observed, not an option to totally opt out or opt in. So that she could have made requirements for peer observations and said that this is definitely what we're doing, provided them with a few different choices to pick from as far as peer observations, but that they all, I thought that you need to make sure she provided the tool or the format of what they were all using, so we're all using the same thing, and that there still was going to be some level of observation by administration. I think the principal's still the leader of the school, needs to be a part of that, not, to share that responsibility with the staff, but not completely give it up.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote something very similar that I think she could have shared her vision with the whole staff before they broke off into grade levels to kind of set the tone and level the playing field, and then maybe shared exemplars of what effective teaching, what she thought effective teaching was, or what effective teaching at that school looks like, just so they all have a good idea of what her expectations are. And I even had the question, like, are these informal observations just for professional development purposes, or are these going to be part of, input for their formal observations for evaluations? I think she needed to clarify that because a lot of the veteran teachers weren't on board, and that's probably why, because they're a little worried, is this going to be part of my evaluation? And yeah, I think that was it. Just clarifying, any questions that they had ahead of time before they.
Shelly?
So we're on question 1, right?
Yeah.
So I need to read all of my responses or just for what I have for question 1?
Just what you have for question 1.
I was just talking about the importance of communication, how essential it is, and how Donna should have communicated more effectively to all teams that change was inevitable and to prepare for it. I mean, it is what it is. And perhaps she would not have received the pushback that she got from some people or teams. And unfortunately, some people still have that mindset of, if it's not broke, why fix it? And however, this is not, a characteristic of a growth mindset. And a growth mindset accepts change and tries to adjust daily practices when and where needed to improve teacher performance as well as student outcomes. And I feel like had she just, communicated more effectively, perhaps she would have gotten a different initial outcome.
Okay. All right, let's move on to question 2. Do I need to recap my question 2 maybe? I know I read that like somebody was chasing me. So I just said cognitive thought will be more effective for an instructional process. The final plans will help teachers be reflective about their process. Yeah, that's kind of it.
I had, how could the final plans be more effective? I was kind of concerned with, is everybody trained on whatever observation tool it is? You've got new teachers, veteran teachers, and, in the same boat. And you want to make sure the observations are based on some clear-cut standard, not just people's opinion of what other people are doing. I said that how could the plans be effective? I said the other ways that this could be effective, I said, if feedback is required, if teachers, everyone giving feedback to each other that's constructive after they do these observations. And, that there's a lot that you can gather from getting information from your peers. From the observer can learn a lot, and the person being observed can learn a lot, but you kind of have to set that standard there so that you have to set the stage so that can happen. You have to put it in the right context, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty similar that it can be very effective because it is pushing the teachers to be reflective practitioners and really opening up practice, which doesn't always happen organically. Sometimes Kendra, like you said, the culture has to be built first to allow that safe space to go into other classrooms and either get feedback or allow others to give you feedback. And also, I think the instructional process will be increased because hopefully through that interaction, they'll start to collaborate more, whether it's in grade level teams or just, whoever you went to see, just having that conversation would be effective in the instructional process.
Kelly?
For question 2, I said the final plans for teachers to identify the area of strength and weakness. These plans will allow teachers to self-evaluate their own performances, what skills or techniques need to be enhanced for better implementation, and what skills or techniques need improvement. This will allow teachers to be reflective for better practical application on a daily basis.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to question 3. All right, so I said the principal could use test scores and take stakeholder surveys. Test scores should improve if the quality of instruction is improving, and stakeholders are typically honest when they're providing feedback on a survey, especially when it's anonymous. So that's it. Kendra, you're muted. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see. For the principal being able to evaluate whether this is working or not, I said that the principal still needs to conduct observations herself, and maybe the whole leadership team, and compare those to the results. So to look to see if there's any correlation between what she's seeing and what the other teachers are seeing. I said that you could involve some rotation of people instead of letting them just, I always observe you, you've always observed me, setting a kind of rotation to provide a little bit of reliability with comparison. And then I just said that, checking, like you said, test data, grades, walkthroughs, and just to see if suggestions that were made were actually implemented. If you saw changes were implemented, and regardless, because someone could make a suggestion and the change could be implemented, but you also want the students to be showing that they are successful with it too. So all 3 of those.
That's very similar. I just noted that maybe on the walkthrough form they could have either an indicator or a place for them to note, like you said, Kendra, that something's been suggested and then they see it actually being implemented in the classroom. And again, I talked about test scores and collecting data, but also possibly talking to the kids. Even though it's elementary school, sometimes you can get a lot of great feedback by just asking the kids, about their instruction, and maybe, did your teacher try something new? Did you like it? Was it, did it help you? And just getting some feedback from the students via either survey or just conversation.
Mm-hmm. All right, Shelley?
I just simply said on question 3, all things are driven by data, and that, the principal should have used as a driving question, based on student outcomes and data, how is the impact of this new observation format either helping or hindering student performance? And then make any new choices or decisions based from, those results.
Okay. All right.
First off, I'd like to say about the feedback from students. I know I had a principal one time, I think we were supposed to be doing learning objectives or something like that. And the principal just made a habit of walking in, and the kids were supposed to know. It wasn't, I don't remember what they called it. It was the learning outcome or the goal or whatever it is. But the principal just walk in random classrooms and ask the kids, what is the objective? What are you supposed to be learning? And how do you know if you learned it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they would, determine if you were doing that or not, if the kids could tell. And even in the lower grades, if the kids couldn't say anything about how they're learning, then what's the point? So I like that.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That's what we do on all of our walk. Like you said, if the kids can tell you what they're learning, you've done a good job. That's kind of a good check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I think we have about 5 more minutes. So we're supposed to come to a consensus for this. So let's see. I think everyone pretty much said for number 1 that, being observed should not be an option. It shouldn't be optional. Everyone's getting observed, by the administration, and everyone's doing peer observations. This is what it is. I think also everyone said that we should communicate to all the teams. Like, it's important to have whole group expectations laid out. And then, let's see. And also to have the same format for everyone for the lesson plans and things like that. Okay. Everybody good for 1? That's a consensus. Anybody think we should add something? You good? All right, awesome. For number 2, I think everyone pretty much said that teachers, it will cause the teachers to be reflective and grow. It will improve the instructional process. And I do like that Kendra said we need to make sure everyone's trained on the observation tool, because if teachers aren't trained, then it's hard for them to go in and observe. Everyone should be looking for the same thing when they're going around to observe classes. So there needs to be a standard for that. Everybody agree with that for number 2? Yeah, okay. Anybody? Okay, all right, good deal. And then for number 3, let's see. I think everybody pretty much said that we should be looking at multiple pieces of data, not just the observation notes or walkthrough checklist, but also we should be looking at test scores. We should be communicating with students to find out, if the things that are being done in the classroom are actually working, and if the things that are suggested are actually being implemented. So I think that's all we said. Ooh, and rotations. I like the rotations too. That was important, I think. Because if you're observing the same people over and over and over again, you may get the same information over and over and over again. All right. I think that's the consensus. Yeah, good deal. Okay. All right. So we have, we're going to end in 10 minutes. According to this, we have another 10 minutes. You said, I'm sorry, Kendra, I couldn't hear you. Did you say something?
Oh, no, I thought it was going to cut off. I never press record.
Oh, okay.
So I yeah, I think they give you 40 minutes from the recording start time, even though this was not our scheduled time. So
exactly.
But,
exactly. We're done. Okay. Do you want me to stop recording and we could just meet? I guess. Yes. I'm stopping recording. Made a decision. Bam.